From the Goldberg-Jones Sports Desk, your 620 Rip City Radio headlines. Goldberg-Jones. Call 1-800-DIVORCE.
It is 6 a.m. on a Wednesday morning. Justin Myers with you. Portland Trailblazers drop a controversial finish in Oklahoma City, 111-109. Unable to get a timeout called with a 1-point lead as Malcolm Brogdon dribbled into a double team. Then Chauncey Billups made contact with an official, getting a first technical, then getting a second technical. He was ejected. One free throw was made. Game winner was made. Blazers' attempt at the end of regulation fell short. And now we sit with an absolute mess on our hands. The Blazers have filed a protest with the league, saying that Chauncey Billups was simply trying to call a timeout. Baseball news, Adrian Beltre, Todd Helton, and Joe Mauer have all been elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame. And back to the NBA, as the Milwaukee Bucks have dismissed Adrian Griffin as their head coach. They're 30-13. Odds-on favorite to be the replacement, Doc Rivers, coming off the couch to potentially take over the Milwaukee Bucks. Tyson Alger, the I-5 corridor, joins us in Hour 3. Hour 1 starts now at 620 Rip City Radio.
The home of the OSAA is 620 Rip City Radio. It's time for Justin Myers to wake you up here on Rip City Mornings, 620 Rip City Radio.
And a very happy Wednesday. It is RCM. I'm your host, Justin Myers, super producer Brendan is safely partitioned. On the other side of the glass, thanks for getting up early with us or staying up late. However you are rolling on this particular Wednesday. Oh boy, we got a lot of stuff to dive into today. We got a lot of stuff to dive into. Brendan, I was a very big fan of early years of American Idol. It took over our country, unlike anything we had seen before. That summer, the first American Idol win, Kelly Clarkson takes the crown. Everybody was talking about it. Twitter hadn't been invented yet. I think the biggest social media play was MySpace. Like MySpace was still crushing it with Tom.
We all had Tom.
We're ranking our friends, but there was a point when I think Simon Cowell threw out this line. It was in the middle of an audition, and it was and he just goes, "What the bloody hell was that?" That's all I could think about.
I remember
last night.
it well.
That's all I could think about last night. As I'm watching the end of the Blazer game, and I'm like, bro, man, they're going to pull off a win in Oklahoma City. Like, all right, so behind the scenes, I live in a world of narratives. Right? That's my job is to find the story, create an angle, come with you with something somewhat entertaining, and try not to get distracted. I fail at that massively. But I watch games from a standpoint of how are we going to talk about this on the show. Anthony Simons hits a three with 29 seconds to go up three. Could not have drawn it up more perfectly. Because I'm sitting there, Blazers have the ball, and I even said it out loud. I said, shoot it at 33. Because that's kind of that sweet spot, right? Where you want to shoot the ball. You don't want to give them the entire shot clock to come down and tie the game. I'm like, hey, shoot it at 33. He shoots it at 31, but buries the three, 29 seconds to go. And I'm like, perfect. Blazers up three, 29 seconds. Play good defense, play bad defense, doesn't matter. You are going to get the worst case scenarios. You have the ball tied, no timeout, or with no shot clock, chance to win the game at the buzzer. Worst, and then go to overtime. That was the worst case scenario. Boy,
or so you thought.
Did not factor in dribble into double team, double dribble call, 2 missed timeouts allegedly, contact with official, technical 1, continuing arguing, technical 2, coach ejected, missed free throw, made free throw, game winner. Boy, of all the things you could factor in at that particular moment, you know what I mean? I don't even know if AI, if artificial intelligence could be like, hey, you got a lot of things you got to worry about here in this situation. But I'm like, Ant hits the three. There's 30 seconds to go. Perfect timing for a 2-for-1, right? Perfect timing. The worst it could possibly be is overtime. Oh boy, was I wrong. Did not see that coming. So, we have got a lot to dissect with regard to this whole thing. Because there are multiple angles. There's the officiating angle. There is the decision-making angle. There was the technical, because the double dribble was one thing. Why did Brogdon even dribble the ball when he picked up his initial dribble? He may have thought he had a timeout, but I've seen players do a lot of reacting when they think they have called a timeout. A secondary dribble and pass is not the response. Some of this is on Brogdon. Some of this is on the officiating. Some of this is on Chauncey Billups. There is so much blame to go around in this particular thing. But it leads to multiple bigger questions, which is what's going on with officiating in the NBA? Because the first technical foul, I was like, he must have made contact. Looked like it was incidental. Looked like it was two people in a very heated conversation, but not a shove or a nudge, right? And I know that the officials, we're going to talk about this later on, after the game facing what is a pool reporter. So let me explain. If you do understand what this is, I apologize for throwing this out. But I don't know if a lot of people, Brendan, understand the pool reporter aspect of this. So after every game, NFL, NBA, MLB. After every game, there is one designated reporter. I should say. That reporter is the pool reporter. If there is a controversial call at the end of the game or at any point in the game, that particular reporter has the job of going to meet with the officials, asking them questions, and then presenting the quotes. That's what the pool reporter is. The officials are not ever going to get at a podium or get at a table and take questions from the media. Like I said, more on that in a moment. So the pool reporter, one person designated, they go back and like, all right, walk us through what happened. And the officials said, yeah, didn't hear timeout. If you watch the replay, which I've watched 1,000 times, Brogdon did not signal timeout. Now, I don't know where the official is supposed to be standing, but Brogdon picked up his dribble in the trap. Worst place you could possibly be in that situation, by the way. You cannot forget that. Right? If we're going to tell a story, we're telling the whole story. You cannot pick up your dribble in that situation. You can't dribble into that. Gang, there's a 1 second differential, shot clock and play clock. If they are not trying to foul you, they are trying to trap you. Basketball 101. So don't dribble into the trap. Now, I do think there was a sense of urgency because it felt like Brogdon was worried about a backcourt violation. And I believe that's why he dribbled into the trap. Now, ifs and ands were pots and pans, we'd have a lot of fun in the kitchen, right? And hindsight is 2020, even though I have 2020 in regular. What's your I know you wear glasses and you got the contacts. Do you know your numbers?
No.
Is it
it's just bad.
When did the eyesight go?
Like third grade.
Third grade.
I've had contacts since third grade.
How hard was that to put your finger in your eyeball?
Not as hard as getting called four eyes by all the kids in school.
Yeah, I got redhead. We all took our lumps.
So if you're asking why I
took
got
our
contacts,
lumps.
that's entirely why.
So it was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I said four eyes a couple times. I got.
You know me, Justin.
I got all the redhead. I got freckle face.
Yeah.
And
kids were mean.
And it's just like they're feral creatures.
Kids were mean, and I'll say this, Justin, but it's funny. All these years later, Brendan, never gonna forget anything. Elephant memory over here. So, it's like, all right, that's fine. But yeah, so here we are, all these years later, and Justin, now it's sometimes cool to wear glasses. So go figure.
I will be honest, I kind of wanted glasses. Now I'm glad I don't now because I don't know if the whole contact thing, and I don't know how you guys do it. Do you sleep in them? You got to take them out?
No. I mean, honestly, what you see here, I only wear contacts like when I'm going out on weekends, going to games.
Yeah.
For the most part, this show, it's really hard to put in contacts at 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah, I wouldn't
say
recommend that.
And then by the time I get done with the show, it's like, why would you put in contacts?
Yeah,
a few hours.
You're halfway through your day.
Exactly, and contacts are kind of expensive, Justin. So yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, the more I can wear glasses, the better. But
all right, so back to hindsight being 20/20, or hindsight being Brendan with glasses, or contacts, whatever. Do you ever would the laser work for you?
LASIK? Oh yeah, it is.
Is that on the possibility of one particular day?
I would like to have it done, and then it reasonably soon. You know, it's about $3-4 grand, so it's a lot. It's a lot of cheddar. So
all right, if there's laser person out, LASIK is what it's called.
Yeah.
You think they called it that because laser sounds scary?
Probably
because they use a laser.
They do. Oh yeah.
Like the laser part of the LASIK is a laser.
But like,
do you think they just changed up the name because we can't be freaking people out shooting lasers in their eyes? What are we gonna call it?
But
LASIK. That sounds a little more soft. That's a little softer.
Yeah, but like my dad got it. You know, what a surprise! My bad eyes run in the family, so not my fault.
Okay,
just gonna let that.
So explain to me this.
Settle for anyone listening. Not my fault I have bad eyes.
My entire family, mom, dad, 2 brothers, blind.
Really?
Yeah, me.
Yeah, see, he
20/20, baby.
So here
they all have dark hair though and dark eyes. I've got the beautiful red hair and the striking blue eyes. I got the recessive genes, which means I hate the dentist. But I got the clear vision.
Yeah, it's definitely fun to see genetics at play, Justin, because I have two siblings that have no perfectly fine vision, and my youngest brother and me are blind as a bat. So. Appreciate that getting passed down the old family tree.
Kramer said it in Seinfeld. Mother Nature's a mad scientist, Jerry. All right,
ain't that the truth? But anyway,
let's go back.
That aside.
All that being said, hindsight being 20/20, right? It's real easy to sit here but this whole thing starts with Brogdon dribbling into the trap, and again, I know if you're a Blazer fan, like you want consequences and repercussions. And I get that not very many wins this year. And the fact that you had a potential win against Oklahoma City on the road. Like I said, I live in a world of narrative. Ant hits the 3. I'm like, that's 3 out of 4, including a win against Oklahoma City on the road and a win against the Pacers. Like, that's some good stuff. That's a pretty good. Instead, now you're back to only have 11 wins on the season. There are not going to be many wins from here on out. It's just the way it is. And in a season where there hasn't been an awful lot to cheer for, it was like, man, what? It was a fun Tuesday night, taking it to the Oklahoma City Thunder. And it's like, what the bloody hell was that? Like, how did it turn into worst case scenario overtime to walking off the court, coach was ejected, Ant had to be restrained. Understand his frustration. He's got to be like he's the best player on this team. He's paid his dues with this organization, and now he's stuck in year 3 of another tank. And Anthony Simon's probably like, I had this one. I had a game winner. Second game winner in the last 4 games. And now I get it. I get the frustration. But, like I said, there's a lot of finger pointing to go around. There's a lot of, if we want to play the blame game, there's a lot to go around. Also, and we're going to talk officiating coming up here in a moment, because I do think there is a bigger story here, and I think there is a bigger picture here. There is letter of the law, there is spirit of the law. At some point, understanding situation as an official has got to, we talk about it with head coaches, there's an X factor, there's just something there that you can't, as an official, you got to understand situation. Situational awareness is probably the biggest attribute to being a quality official. Could have given it a second to tell Coach Billups to calm down. You could have been like, hold on. If he kept on it, then maybe a technical. But it was a very quick technical. That being said, Chauncey Billups got to understand situation as well. You still have the lead. terrible situation, but you have the lead. Got to get a stop. Instead, you get ejected. They hit one free throw, then a game winner. And as soon as that, who was it? Williams threw up the shot, I believe. As soon as it went up, I'm like, well, that's in.
Even that's not super specific, though, Justin. Which Jalen Williams was it? You know, they do have two.
That's insane. But as soon as Williams put it up, I'm like, well, that's in.
Yeah, I mean, that and,
he buries it, and then the Blazers get the timeout, and Scotty Brooks draws up a play for Aiden. Would have liked to have seen Ant shoot a 30-footer, to be perfectly honest, because Aiden, 5 points in the game, not really. He's max player, apparently, according to him. 5 points in a game. I don't know about draw, but what are you going to do? You're an assistant coach, and all of a sudden you're like, coach has been ejected. I got to drop a play. So lots of stuff to continue to talk about. Also, the college or the NFL coaching carousel continues to go round and round and round. But there also may be more with regard to the Seahawks and with UCLA. Is Chip Kelly potentially heading back to the NFL? So we'll talk about that coming up on the big show. And we got Tyson Alger coming up in hour number 3. But the officiating discussion is hit home with the Blazers. We talk about that next. 620 Rip City Radio. Brendan, are you familiar? You familiar with the baseball-themed poem "Casey at the Bat"? Have you ever heard of Casey at the Bat?
Can't say I have.
So it was a poem written back in 1888. Believe it or not, that's how
It's a long time ago.
Yeah, it is 1888, and in like elementary school, we used to it was one of the poems that we had, and you would act it out, and there were different parts, but it was a baseball poem that we recited in elementary school, but it was written in 1888, Casey at the Bat, and it tells the tale of a Babe Ruth type baseball player, even though, like I said, going all the way back to the 1800s, of the bigger than life. He's coming up, and all the fans in Mudville are like, we got this. Casey's at the bat, and he ends up striking out. Why am I bringing this up? Why am I bringing up some baseball poem from 1888 when the Blazers got screwed by the officials last night? Well, because even as far back as 1888, there was a line in the poem Casey at the Bat that says, "Kill him. Kill the umpire," someone shouted on the stand. That's how far back this goes. And I wasn't there, but in those in that Aztec soccer basketball game that I learned about in 5th grade, I'm pretty sure there were referees and umpires and officials back then that everybody wanted to, maybe potentially did kill, because those Aztec games were gnarly. But kill him. Kill the umpire. Strike 2. Fraud. Cried the Madden thousands. 1888. That's how far back we are screaming and yelling and upset about officiating in the sports world. Which brings us to last night. Because I have said that one of the things that I think the NBA has to fix is the fact that basketball players don't want to play. Player empowerment, too much player movement, and the fact that when players don't feel like playing, they don't play. That's one of the biggest problems in the NBA right now. If you were to ask the average Joe fan, I would imagine at least on the top three of complaints about the NBA is probably officiating. Now, we've added replay. We go to Secaucus, right? And with all of this technology and all of the angles and high def and interpretation of rules, and what is a travel, what's a gather step, and all that, it's very, very complex. It is amazing that anybody can be an official anymore. And so last night, Malcolm Brogdon dribbles into the double team, turns around, turns his back to the official. Chauncey Billups is running down. Is he calling timeout soon enough? Inexplicably, Brogdon takes a second dribble. He double dribbled the ball like he did. Did he call a timeout first? Don't know. Hard to see because his back was to the official. Chauncey Billups was kind of being blocked. Who's the Thunder coach?
Mark Daigneault.
Daigneault's sitting there right next to the official, and Chauncey Billups is almost kind of being blocked by the Thunder coach. It all happened so fast. Brogdon takes another dribble, and boom, double dribble, turnover, quick tech, even quicker second tech. So let me preface what I'm about to say with, I think one technical foul on Chauncey Billups, fine. In that situation, to calm everybody down, fine. Assess the one technical. The second technical foul, and again, I'm a homer coming at it from a Blazers perspective, felt a little egregious. Now, letter of the law, spirit of the law. That's what we're talking about here, right? Letter of the law is we're not in a timeout. This is a turnover. Technical foul was assessed, and Chauncey Billups is still on the court walking toward the official after receiving a technical foul, I would imagine letter of the law, that's the second technical. Spirit of the law is, hey, you got your technical foul. Let's get him back to the bench. We've got a 1-point game here. Because if it's just one technical foul, then you get the one free throw. Who knows? Now it's a turnover, so Oklahoma City would have got the ball. But if Shai Gilgeous-Alexander misses that first free throw, which he did, if there was no second free throw, then you're looking at a 1-point game. Your head coach is still in the ball game. Who knows how it ends? All that being said, this idea that referees, and again, I understand that the consequences of wins and losses are massive. Losses, enough, build up, coaches get fired. Coaches get hired and fired on wins and losses. That being said, the idea of officials facing the media night in and night out is a ridiculous notion. And we all have to admit that while I am a fan of sports, I am not a fan of officials, right? I don't tune in to watch Scott Foster. You know what I mean? Back in the day when old Ed Hockley with his guns in the NFL, maybe. But like, nobody tunes into sports to watch the officials. That's an old adage, right? Nobody paid to see you, ump. Nobody paid to see you, ref, right? Yeah. But you know what? You paid to see a game. Guess what doesn't happen if there's no officials? There's no game. Got to have them. Got to have officials. Got to have hall monitors. Got to have vice principals. We got to have them. Somebody has to be there to enforce the rules. It's one of those things we don't all want to admit. Somebody's got to be there to enforce the rules. And while we never pay for the officials, we are glad that they are there because when officials are there, sports can happen. So let's walk through this ridiculous notion of officials having to go to the podium every single night and answer questions. Now, some may say that, well, that will provide extra incentive. If you know you have to face the media every single night, and it adds more transparency, and officials can face the scrutiny the same way players and coaches, right? We hear that all the time. Players and coaches have to do it. Why don't the officials have to do it? Well, I have a hunch a couple of nights ago when Anthony Simons hit that game winner against the Brooklyn Nets, that when he went to the podium or when he went to the media after the game, I would imagine it was a whole lot of, hey, what a great shot. Tell me what happened there. Hey, Ant, how does it feel to hit a game winner like that? Did you know it as soon as it went it? Positive. You know what's never going to happen? If an official calls a perfect game, a reporter coming up going, that was a tremendous traveling call in the third quarter. Take me through what you saw. Yeah, I've talked a lot about these last couple of weeks. I'm very afraid of the dentist. Had to face my fear, went to the dentist, got a lot of dental work done. And I've joked that, nobody goes in and has their best day when they're at the dentist. It's got to be a tough job, right? Nobody in that chair is like, you know what? I'm having a great day. Looking forward to this. But we got to have dentists in our lives, just like we got to have officials in our lives. And the idea that an official would ever go to the podium and get anything but criticism and questions, why would anybody want to be an official? I don't care how much they get paid. Brendan, will you Google for me? I should have done this before. My fault. Average NBA official salary. I'm just curious, like average NBA official salary.
It's a range, but between $250K and $500K.
Okay. Not $1 million.
Yeah, no, it just depends on how many years you've been in. There's a big range, but you're probably going to start 250K a year. All right. 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 250K
rookie minimum salary, the lowest amount of money you can make in the NBA as a player is $1.1 million. Double. Best officials in the league, the worst players in the league, minimum $1.1 million. That matters, right? Because I see that argument as well. Well, players and the coaches have to do it. The officials are getting paid too. Well, you ready to pay officials $12 million? Because the paycheck matters. Facing the media after a tough game, if you are making $13 million, is part of the paycheck. Because guess what? Whenever you hit a game winner, whenever you hit, a walk-off home run, whenever you hit, game-winning touchdown, it's not like going to the dentist when you meet the media. It's having your best day. It's got to be, other than the actual feeling of being out there and getting that successful play, home run, touchdown, secondary, got to be awesome to just, let's talk about it. Let me talk about how awesome I am for another 20 minutes. There's a trade-off there. There's a balance there. No official's ever going to get hey, you guys really nailed that illegal procedure call at the end of the game. Talk me through it. It's only going to be bad. I've had multiple bosses in this business. Multiple bosses. And boss right now, couldn't be happier. But I've had bosses in this business where they thought that the best way to manage employees is to nitpick and point out things they need to improve upon. Now, that's all obviously a part of management. It's a part of just life in the workforce is you are doing this, you need to be doing this. But at some point, you have to go, you know what, you do this really well. Because when you get to a point, every single meeting, it is something you were doing wrong, something you were doing wrong. Guess what you don't get? You don't get good performance. You get people trying not to make mistakes. There's a difference. The idea that accountability for officials and that job performance would actually increase with added scrutiny never exists anywhere in the workforce. Brendan, could you just imagine if every single day you get off the show and it's like, all right, now I got to go meet. And it's like, hey, there was a flub there. There was a time thing there. You stumbled over your words here. What was going on? There's like, at some point, if somebody doesn't ever say, hey, good job on this, guess what? Your performance is going to suffer. I know that it is a fool's errand today to stick up for officiating, but the idea that officials should be facing the media is, quite frankly, one of the silliest notions. And here's the other thing. There is a shortage of officials in our world right now. Again, not a fun argument to sit here and stick up for referees. But there is high school football games are played on Thursdays and on Fridays now. It used to be Friday Night Lights, Thursdays and Fridays, right? Because they don't have enough referees. There's not enough basketball officials. There's not enough baseball. There's not enough Little League umpires. Because we all got cell phones. Every mom and dad's filming every single game. Official makes a bad call. It ends up on TikTok. I know it because I see them. Ends up on TikTok. It's like, you can't pay me enough to sit there and film me. And if I do everything right, it just goes away. I do something wrong, it pops up on your Facebook page. A lot of blame to go around for last night. Second tech probably didn't need to be called. Didn't need to be called, that second technical foul.
I agree.
But the idea that if you put these guys up in front of the media every single game, you're going to get a mass exodus of officials. You are going to get poorer performance because officials are going to then be worried. Like, it's another worry. On top of fans shouting back in 1888, kill the umpire, right? On top of fans already on your case. Now you got doofuses like me asking you questions. Well, players and coaches have to do it. Players and coaches get paid 10 times. 10 times what they get paid. Sometimes way more than that. That being said, time and place, situational awareness, right? What they say, situations are situational. That's what happened last night. I'm sitting there watching it. I'm frustrated. I understand if you're a Blazer fan, you're like, you want retribution. You want repercussions. Unless you're a sicko like Brendan, who's just like, more ping pong balls.
Not wrong. I just wanted to lose competitively, so there you go.
Was that, as crazy as it was last night, I say this as a term of endearment, but you're a bit of a sicko with the ping pong balls and all that. Almost best case scenario for you. Clearly, Blazers good enough to win the game. Clearly, game taken out of their hands, yet still get a loss and more ping pong balls.
And Toronto's joined the tanking fray, Justin.
Win,
I'm not
right?
wanting to fall down that ladder anymore. Blazers already 5th best odds. Leave it at that. But it was nice to see some fire. And I'll say this just to kind of add on your point. Compared to 2 weeks ago, a week ago, Justin, we were wondering if this team had any fight left in them. So that alone is giving me a bit of a positive this morning. Is again, Chauncey Billups finally showed some fight for his team. It may have cost him the game, as you mentioned, but I kind of like seeing a little fire from Chauncey. I kind of like seeing that the Blazers probably were like, hey, we took it on the chin with this team last time around. They beat us by 70. No, not 30, not 4, 70. And, it was right there for the picking minus, some really bad execution at the end.
Fire comes from a lot of different places, though, and I'm glad you brought that up because, and we may talk about this coming up in a bit as well, but fire comes from a lot of different places, and I hope it is from we're figuring some things out as opposed to the frustration is just mounting and mounting and mounting, and it got to a point where just one thing. Now, again, that one thing was a massive call. It was a massive call. And again, Brogdon calls for timeout with his hands. Maybe there's a different thing there. But like I said, ifs and ands. But it was a complete mess of the end of the game from, I think, almost all parties involved except for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Brogdon can't go into that trap. Can't go into that trap. And when you do, you can't call a timeout to air. You got to call a timeout to an official. Chauncey Billups got to see that. As soon as he went across the line into the trap, Billups should have called a timeout right there. That's a 2-second delay. And again, we're all power of hindsight. Officials, probably, second tech probably didn't need to happen. But the first official to think that he should be picking up a timeout, Now, here's the other question I would have, and then we're going to get to a break. There are 3 officials out there. The one guy who was standing right there clearly could not see nor hear a timeout. He's officiating a potential turnover in a 1-point game with 30 seconds to go. There's a trail official that probably could have saw Chauncey Billups running up the sideline calling a timeout. Now we add this to the list of things that do we need to now make reviewable. Here we go. Throw it on there. Should calling a timeout now be reviewable? Just throw it on there. Wait. Let's just let the AI do it. Just let AI officiate the games. You know what I mean? All right. We have other NBA news and notes from around the league. We got a little round ball rock to talk about. Before we do, I want to tell you about the good people at DeBella's. That's right. DeBella, who is the official home improvement partner of the Portland Timbers, can help you with roofing, windows, siding, bathroom renovations. I know I've been talking about roofs and windows all the time because we just had a brutal stretch of weather. Stretch of weather hasn't stopped, though, because it is coming down out there. I don't know if we're going to have to start building an ark anytime soon. But if your roof maybe wasn't holding up the best during that ice storm, or maybe you are seeing potential leaks coming from your roof, Now is the time to call DeBella. If you're going to fix your roof, fix it right and fix it with the best. How do I know that DeBella is the best? They didn't tell me so. 15,000 people on Google told me and you and the rest of the internet with 5-star reviews. That's right. Over 15,000 5-star reviews on Google for the excellent work. And I've been telling you about this for the last couple of weeks because it is an amazing financing opportunity. 0 down and no payments until 2025. That's right. We're still in January. 0 down, no payments until 2025 on approved credit for your roofing, your siding, your windows, bathroom renovations. You can save up to 30% on those energy bills by just replacing some windows and getting your roof taken care of. But you got to visit DeBella, DABELLA.us for a free, no-obligation appointment, and they can make updating your home so easy. 15,000 5-star reviews. Why don't you be 15,001 with a 5-star review on Google? DeBella.us right now. They are the official home improvement partner of the Portland Timbers. I don't know, 7:45 last night, I was like, all right, biggest story in the NBA clearly is the Milwaukee Bucks deciding to fire their head coach, sitting at 30-13. What are they, like second in the East right now? But there has apparently been a bit of tension, shall we say, starting all the way back when Terry Stotts left in interesting, weird circumstances, and obviously the addition of Damian Lillard, which won a lot of games, but defensively, as we all kind of saw coming, hasn't really been a priority with the Bucks. So they have made a coaching change. Middle of the season, Adrian Griffin gone. Who is potentially coming back to the Eastern Conference? Before we talk about that, we need the music. Let's go with the little John Tesh and Round Ball Rock. All right, so was it August? Was it was it September? When out of nowhere, inexplicably, it's like, oh, Terry Stotts, assistant coach with the Milwaukee Bucks. Their new head, like, what a perfect spot for Damian Lillard to go to with his former head coach there. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it's like, Terry Stotts is leaving the team.
June to October.
So nuts. So in October, Terry Stotts is out, and there was a lot of us going like, there's something fishy going on there. I don't know if that's the right move of a first-year head coach in Adrian Griffin, but the season came. Games were played. Bucks started winning an awful lot of games, but apparently the tensions have continued to rise as the Bucks have now made a change in the middle of the season. This is kind of unprecedented to have an NBA team that is in second place. They're in second place at 30-13. They are tied for the second best record in the NBA. But according to some sources, I believe there has been frustration growing in Damian Lillard's role in the offense, and that maybe potentially Adrian Griffin was not getting the offensive capability out of Damian Lillard. And then probably on the flip side, Adrian Griffin's probably like, yeah, I'm not getting the defensive capability either. So Griffin out. And according to sources, the leading candidate is ESPN NBA analyst who led the Philadelphia Sixers to 3 consecutive trips to the Eastern Conference semifinals before exiting last spring. Old Doc Rivers putting the microphone down and heading out to Milwaukee, which would be an interesting move. Because there is, I think, something about Doc Rivers that I think kind of fits this page, right? Which is massive championship aspirations. And if you go back to when he was with Boston, got very strong personalities, got them to play together. Didn't do so well in Philadelphia, but was handed a Ben Simmons you-know-what sandwich in the middle of that and never quite worked out. But this is a fascinating term of events going on in Milwaukee. Brendan, could you imagine just sitting in second place? Second best record in the league. And you're just like, yeah, we're going to fire our head coach.
They had no choice. This was...
How did they go 30-13 if it was so bad?
They may have the second best record in the NBA, Justin, but this team screams first or second round exit. This is the same team that same mostly group of team that lost to Miami as the 8th seed last year, but I want to make sure I have my numbers correct. Justin, I believe they are, they're in the bottom 5 defensively in the entire East.
That's not good.
They're in the same breath as the Pistons, the Wizards, the Pacers, the Hawks defensively. So, again, we'll talk about it a little bit, make or miss. You can't create defense when your personnel don't play defense. So I'll leave it at that. We'll talk about it more, make or miss. But the personnel sucks for playing defense.
That's part of it. Also, it's from a personality. Now, again, this is internet rumors. I don't know. But if we could read the tea leaves, sound like Giannis was definitely behind Budenholzer getting fired, right? Like nothing happens in Milwaukee without Giannis's thumbs up or thumbs down. Chuck Norris in dodgeball, right? Hate that Chuck Norris, right? Nothing happens in Milwaukee. Like, if Giannis doesn't like the type of brats they serve at the arena, they're changing them, all right? That's how it works with the Milwaukee Bucks. So, Giannis is probably behind, or at least signed off on coaching change. Adrian Griffin comes in, and remember that weird, like, podcast or whatever Giannis was on where he was like, man, I don't know. Like, if I don't win a championship here, I'll go win it somewhere else. I mean, that's just, and all of a sudden, boom, all right, we got him Damian Lillard. And like you talked about, traded away maybe one of the best perimeter defenders for an elite scorer, but
Probably the best defender at the guard position. I think Drew still holds that mark.
probably so, to one of the worst, but one of the best scorers. And not just in the NBA, but in the history of the NBA, one of the best scorers. And 43 games in, coach fired. Now, the Terry Stotts thing, it makes a lot of sense when you look back at that. And Adrian Griffin definitely seemed in over his head. And then I saw a thing that they wanted to hire Nick Nurse after they fired Budenholzer, but then Giannis was not a fan of Nick Nurse either. So now it's like Budenholzer out, Giannis signed off on. Nick Nurse not getting the job, even though Nick Nurse, pretty good record in Toronto.
And has a championship.
And then now Adrian Griffin out. Like, is Giannis like the Greek LeBron now? Trying to play GM and superstar basketball player? Fascinating stuff. We got more coming up in Make or Miss. We've got a jam-packed hour number 2 coming up next. 620 Rip City Radio.
sports you need to know. From the Goldberg Jones Sports Desk, your 620 Rip City Radio headlines. Goldberg Jones. Call 1-800-DIVORCE.
It is 7 a.m. on a Wednesday morning. Justin Myers with you. Controversial finish in Oklahoma City as the Blazers drop the game to the Thunder 111-109. Unable to get a timeout called with a 1-point lead as Malcolm Brogdon dribbled into a double team. Chauncey Billups pleading with officials, made contact, received one technical, continued to plead his case, received a second technical, was asked to clearly exit stage left. 2 technicals, the turnover, game-winning basket from Jalen Williams, and the Blazers walk out with a loss. They're expected to file a protest with the NBA. Don't know what will come of that. But they're back in action, 5 o'clock tip time against the Houston Rockets tonight. Adrian Beltre, Todd Helton, Joe Mauer, all elected to baseball's Hall of Fame. They are headed to Cooperstown and drama in Milwaukee after Adrian Griffin was fired yesterday after a 30-13 record to start the season. Milwaukee Bucks are expected to hire Doc Rivers for their coaching vacancy. Hour 2 of RCM starts right now at 620 Rip City Radio.
The home of the OSAA is 620 Rip City Radio.
All right, hour number 2 of RCM. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Glad you are with us. Obviously, the Blazers' finish last night is a fascinating discussion. Blazers filing a protest with the league. Now, I don't know how that works. I believe, now I could be wrong. I mean, I could be just making this up out of thin air, which has happened before. But, Brendan, I believe, like, if you file a protest and it is actually successful, don't you have to go back and, like, play the game from the moment of protest? Am I making that up?
That's a little into the CBA that I can't speak on.
Am I?
Let me look it up.
Because I thought, like, at some point, maybe it was a year or 2 ago, somebody filed a protest and, like, a month later had to, like, finish the last, like, 7 seconds of a game or something like that. I might be making this up. I could, but I saw that this morning when I woke up because obviously everybody was really mad last night, and I understand the anger. And then I went to bed, woke up, and it's like, Blazers are filing a protest. And I'm like, for what? Like, what? Like, do you want acknowledgement? I don't believe that there could be anything from the protest unless the NBA says, yeah, timeout should have been called, clearly missed. Blazers up 1, 20-some seconds to go. You guys go back to Oklahoma City and finish out the game. Like, but I do have a recollection of somebody somewhere. Like,
it was Mark Cuban in the Dallas Mavericks a couple years back.
Okay, so I'm not.
But
did
no,
they have to replay it?
There's no real. They're not going to win. So
yeah, I know they're not going to win the protest. I'm just curious why you would file it because I don't know what the. But like, okay, let's live in a world where maybe they do win. They're not, but let's live in a world where they do. Would they replay the last 20-some seconds? Like, I just wonder. Like that. Clearly, the NBA can't just go like, yeah, you got screwed there. We're going to reverse the outcome. That's not going to happen. If you just want acknowledgement, I don't know why you would go through the process because we all saw it. We don't need acknowledgement from the league. Plus, they do that whole last 2-minute report. I'm just wondering, like, what on earth are you filing a protest for?
Well, apparently the protest costs money, and that $10,000 is just gone if you do not win. So, again, nothing for the Allen estate.
Oh, it's a 10 Gs.
But there was a quote from David Stern when he retired back in 2015, just pretty much talking about how silly this is, Justin, and basically along the lines of the burden of proof. He said, given the high standard of proof that the team must meet to meet the protest sustained, our teams have decided that filing a protest is not a good time of use and resources, which I couldn't agree more. You're not going to change the results of this game. You can protest all you want, But
yeah, that's why I'm wondering, like why?
maybe show that you have your team's back, kind of a thing. But
Is that worth 10 G's, I guess?
Again, that's pocket change for the Alamo State. That's a drop in. That is literally Justin dropping a flea into the ocean. But that's what I'd say. It's probably like doing it to show the players and coaches you got their back. But like Justin, this doesn't happen. You shouldn't even necessarily be allowed to do this because nobody's ever won, or if it has been like once.
So,
like
the NBA has only upheld a protest 6 times in its history. Did you know this?
So, back to this, when the Mavericks one happened, Justin.
Yeah.
John Hollinger, I think we may have had him on the program one point at the Athletic, said, "You've got better odds of seeing Boban Marjanovic, the 7'4" giant Boban, mount the Kentucky Derby than you do of the NBA winning a protest." So that was 3 years ago. Maybe things have changed, but I imagine this is going to.
So 3 years ago, with Dallas filed a protest. They did not win a protest.
Nope, they lost.
Got it. Okay, so according to ESPN stats and info, last time NBA team won a protest, six times it's happened. December 19th, 2007. 2007, Miami Heat center Shaquille O'Neal was incorrectly ruled to have 6 fouls when he only had 5. The game was resumed on March 8th, 2008, but neither team scored in the 51.9 seconds that was replayed from overtime, and the Hawks ultimately won 114-111. Before the game was resumed, Shaquille O'Neal had already been traded to the Phoenix Suns. So I was right. I didn't make it up. So Blazers filing a protest, they're not winning it, right? It's not going to happen. If they did win it, though, they would go back, timeout Blazers, everybody go back to Oklahoma City, 15.1 seconds on the clock, Blazers up 1, let's play some basketball. Is Malcolm Brogdon even on the team if, in fact, it happens? Because that's, like I said, and the Shaq one, right, it makes sense. Hey, we're filing a protest. It's an overtime game. You fouled out Shaquille O'Neal. He only had 5 fouls. That's clearly a clerical error. This is not. This is a judgment call, right? This is, you said you called timeout. Malcolm Brogdon was dribbling the ball again for a double dribble. What's Brogdon doing dribbling the ball there in that situation as well? Like, did he brain cramp? Was it just like, did he get caught up in the moment? I don't know. But we got a mess on our hands. But the Blazers have filed a protest. How funny would that be? Like, hey, we got 15 seconds left. Like, do the Blazers play Oklahoma City on the road again?
I wouldn't think so because they've already done it twice. So
yeah.
Usually you're going to get 2 and 2.
So let's live in this fun little make-believe world real quick. It's going to take a while for the league to maybe figure some things out. March 26th, Brendan, March 26th, the Blazers, it's a Tuesday night. The Blazers are not playing. They are at Houston on March the 25th. So there's an opening for the Blazers. What about the Thunder? Did the Thunder play on March 26th? Let's see. Oh, they're in New Orleans. Can't do it then. Maybe, I don't know.
Let me put it this way. I'm trying
to figure out, when we can play this last 15 seconds.
Why?
Dude, this is fun. I don't know, because I'm just having fun.
Yeah, I'm like...
Because this whole thing is ridiculous.
Yeah,
the whole ending of the last night's game was so ridiculous, and I don't,
So, if the Thunder had lost, and the team who are chasing a top seed, there's no benefit for Portland to even, that's the thing. Other than filing the grievance and I guess just lighting 10 grand on fire, it must be nice.
Be nice.
I wish I knew what that was like.
You could get 4 LASIK surgeries.
Yeah, no kidding. Even if they could get it rescheduled, why? The Blazers are going nowhere. Justin, we are 3 months away from 1, 2, 3. Actually, really, February, March. Yeah, 2 months away from 1, 2, 3 Cancun.
I know.
So I think that this, just like you said, it's so silly. I have a feeling this will get kicked back down from the league office very soon. Maybe even today.
All right. Do you watch? I watch a lot of true crime shows. Right? Do you watch Dateline at all?
It's not so much Dateline, more
Okay.
like True Detective.
Okay, but like that.
But I've seen Dateline, of course.
Yeah. So Dateline. Let me tell you. First off, I love Dateline. I love Dateline. They are the best. I'm gonna bring this back to basketball. Don't get me. Don't. I don't want to lose you here. But like, here's why I love Dateline. Like, you get the whole story, and it's like. But lately, because technology is so like. Criminals are stupid and technology is easy. It's like, it's a 2-hour Dateline. And like, Brendan, they had this case wrapped up in like 30 minutes. They're like, the wife had like 4 insurance policies out on the husband. Her cell phone was pinged in the location. But it's like, we got to get a, and it's like anymore, like Dateline, they are cases wrapped up in like 2 days. But they got to get an hour or sometimes 2 hours. And it's like, but what about this? It's like, yeah. Cop took her phone. She Googled how to poison husband without him knowing. He died of antifreeze poisoning. She had 4 insurance policies out on him that she collected instantly right away. Was having an affair, massive, like, oh, okay. So this took about 4 hours of cyber forensics, and you guys had this case cleared. But we did it in an hour. And then they always get to, like, the court scene, and it's like, all right, now it goes to the jury. You never know. It's like, jury's back in 24 minutes. It's like, okay, 24 minutes, guilty, first-degree murder, gone. I feel like that's going to be this appeal or this protest. It's like, I don't know who it goes to. I don't think this gets to Adam Silver's desk.
Joe Dumars of the great Detroit Pistons.
Does it even get to Dumar's desk?
It used to be Kiki Vandeweghe. Shout out the Trailblazer, but now it's Joe Dumars.
I don't even know if it gets to Dumar's desk. Some intern is going to get this. No.
You really think it won't even get to Dumars' desk?
Rejected. Like, it stinks, right? It stinks for the Blazers. It was a mess of an end of a game.
Stink.
It was a mess of 15 seconds last night. Complete mess. But, like, you had ways to not have it be a mess. And that would have been Brogdon signaling timeout, not dribbling into a trap, and an official not with a quick technical foul. But, like, that's the other thing. Okay, let's say it's protested, right? And the NBA comes back and says, okay, yeah, the timeout was assessed and the double dribble didn't happen. You still got 2 technicals. Well, you can't just take those off the board.
True. You can't take away the technicals.
So, like, I don't know.
I mean, it's definitely one of those things that it's just what you have to call it what it is. A crazy, like Justin said, a crummy sequence to end that game. But let me ask you this, Justin.
Yes.
In kind of a funny way to close out to the top of our first segment here in the second hour is, you think if that did make its way to the league office, there's like, wait, a protest coming from the Trailblazers? Have they sold yet? Nah, we're good.
It'd be nice.
If they're just like, wait, you guys haven't sold yet? No, we're not going to accept this.
I wish the Portland
sold.
Trailblazers would put as much effort into finding a buyer for this team as they're maybe going to put into protesting this call.
Not wrong.
Man, what a sequence of events. I've seen some things in my time. Watching sports, loving sports, professionally covering sports. I've seen some things.
Seen some stuff.
But up 15 seconds with the ball. Double dribble, 2 technical fouls. It's like, what?
Just the worst thing that could happen.
I mean, it was, at the time, I'm watching it, and I'm like, whoa, what? And then you're mad, and like, now I'm almost like, it's kind of objectively funny. Because, like, as you said, situations are situational, and it's like, the Blazers ain't going anywhere. Like, it would have been nice to win 3 out of their last 4. It would have been nice to get a nice road win in Oklahoma City. It would have been nice for Anthony Simons to get another potential game winner.
Sure.
And that 3-pointer that he hit, which was, like, that's the other thing. We're not talking about Anthony Simons today. Should be. There's been money these last couple of games. All right, coming up, we've got Make or Miss. Tyson Alger is going to be joining the show coming up in hour number 3. Sorry, we got distracted. They put Magic Johnson's tweet on TV.
Pretty blunt, I'd say.
Tweet yesterday from a 3-week-old trade. All right. We got Make or Miss coming up next. 620 Rip City Radio. All right, 1 hour from now, we're going to talk to Tyson Alger, friend of the program, from the I-5 corridor. Oregon basketball coming off of a couple of tough losses, but getting some guys back, getting some guys healthy. So we'll talk some Oregon hoops. Also, some interesting rumors in the coaching carousel going on. One involving former Oregon coach Chip Kelly that maybe potentially could see Chip Kelly leaving UCLA to become the offensive coordinator of the Seattle Seahawks. Is that a truth? Is that really going on? Sounds like maybe potentially Dan Quinn and Chip Kelly being a package deal heading up to the Seattle Seahawks. So we'll talk to Tyson Alger about that and multiple other things. So that's going to be coming up in an hour from now. But right now, it's time for Make or Miss. On the West Coast, right? Texas and Florida are still where the majority of great players come from in this country, but California, not that far behind. So you have a recruiting advantage because you could just go right out in your backyard and recruit 70% of your roster within a, 80-mile radius. So you get 70% of your roster there. You're going to the Big Ten. You're getting, from a revenue perspective, $75 million a year in grant of rights. So budget-wise, you're like, why on earth would Chip Kelly ever want to leave? If it's not for the fact that I don't think certain coaches, and maybe potentially Chip Kelly's one of them, want to deal with this NIL mess.
That and Chip Kelly, Justin, there's been some comments about his inability to recruit the last 3 years.
Yes.
4 years. I hate to say it, I'm looking at their rivals rankings right now. Classes in the 60s are not going to win you games in the Big Ten. Again, class in the 60s, if you're Oregon State, and I don't mean this negatively, you can build up your guys and still win your Mountain West heavy schedule. But there will be no, I think the road to the championship next year will 100% go through the Big Ten again. Most likely Oregon. They're looking really darn good.
Really good. Washington got a quarterback, though. Well, that Will Rogers guy is not. He entered the transfer portal and then he exited.
Yeah, he just stayed. I mean,
I know.
Justin, looking at that Washington depth chart, I've told you.
You don't think he's gonna have anybody to throw to?
No. I mean, Jed Fish is a good coach. I don't think the bottom's gonna fall out, but expecting them to be anywhere close to what they were. All that aside, I just think Chip was kind of done recruiting.
And sticking with that real quick, because you bring up rivals recruiting rankings, which is very important. I don't believe you can make a championship roster solely on
Justin, but every time I drive by one of those blue
Dude, it is a
windmill
line out the
buildings,
door.
wrecked. So just wait until we start getting Dutches. And like I said, I think they've made their way, Justin, as far east as Texas.
Yeah.
But just wait until, and I've said forever, I think Dutch is going to explode because here in Oregon and specifically the Pacific Northwest.
Boom, that was tough. That's a tough thing to say.
A little bit, right?
Specifically the Pacific.
Right.
Specifically the Pacific. Say that 5 times fast. That was a tongue twister right
that
there.
Would fail. But if there's one thing that maybe, and again, I'm speaking for myself, maybe I'm not the biggest fan of with Dutch Brothers. It is that barista's going to ask me about everything I did that day. They may climb into my car to do it and be like, well, what are you doing? Well, what just very kind of
but I think you're in
positive.
I think you're in the minority, though. I think most people love it.
Well, hold that thought. See, then when they start getting their way into the South, where Southern hospitality exists, I think that they will explode and shoot through the moon. Because, again, Justin, I know you're a Starbucks guy, but I love Dutch. They have way better, sorry, Justin, way better drinks than Starbucks.
Well, it's a different type, right? Because you are not like me in the fact that you are not afraid of sugar.
Give me those Rebels. Give me everything.
My God.
Oh, those so good. I would crush a I should honestly start getting Rebels instead of coffees in my mornings.
Please don't.
I
worry about your health. But it's it's just that the drinks are too sweet for me. I understand why there is a market for it. Just for me, too sweet.
Oh yeah, and you're the market for it, Justin. You're not even you think I like it. Go hang out with some Gen Zers.
Dude, I
live
that life, man. I'm a Southern Oregon guy.
Yeah.
I know all about Dutch Bros and the Dutch Bros life and the Dutch Bros army that they created.
It's almost like a little mini army of Swifties. It really is.
Yeah, because they create, they get them in high school and then they want to work there and then you got them sucked in for life. It's not even mad.
Yeah,
impressed.
it's all that. But let's
go
go
ahead.
Make
To make her miss turned into a 5-minute commercial for Dutch Bros.
We'll talk about Dutch Bros.
But anyways,
yes.
I was going to say, domino effect. Chip Kelly goes to the Seattle Seahawks. Let's just live in that make-believe world real quick. We can. We're on the radio.
Another job that Jonathan Smith could have had. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
Hey, but
who takes that job, though? Who takes that job? They got a coordinator there? You can't go out and hire somebody. Is anybody going to leave an existing head coaching job to take over the UCLA job?
It's a great question.
Thank you.
I think that no, to answer your question, because they could maybe make another defensive coordinator got hired away, Anthony Lynn's son, after one really good season.
Mm-hmm.
So I doubt they're going to go that way. Offensive coordinator, kind of in name only because Chip does the offense. Their quarterbacks coach just became the offensive coordinator at Oregon State. So,
yeah, and there's not really a robust
candidate
UCLA alum out there, as an NFL.
Actually,
Okay, time to wrap up hour number 2. A lot of rumors circulating, and this is where you got to beware of the rumor mill in the coaching world because some of the rumors are strategically planned. Let's just throw that out there, right? So let's throw out what we've heard. We know nothing, right? We know nothing. These are all rumors, but let's just throw out what we hear and take our best guess. So it looked as though Bill Belichick had 2 interviews with the Atlanta Falcons. Those talks have apparently cooled. Some have said that the Atlanta Falcons front office, not all that jazzed about Bill Belichick coming into town. And you know what? I can understand that because if not all of them, a big chunk of them are going to lose their jobs. Like, I have a hunch Bill Belichick isn't going to come in and be like, hey, Atlanta Falcons, clearly the way you guys have been running things around here has been just fine and dandy. I'm just going to come in and go with the flow and not try to disrupt anything you guys have been doing. No, that's not how Bill Belichick's going to work. Bill Belichick's going to come in and be like, yeah, you guys haven't won anything since Matt Ryan left. I'm here to shake everything up. Most of you shall be fired. So it's not a surprise that a lot of people at the Atlanta Falcons organization are maybe not all that hip to Bill Belichick coming in and taking over probably both player personnel and head coaching duties. So you got that. It looked like Jim Harbaugh was on his way to the Chargers. And even, I think as early as yesterday, it was like, yep, they are in very serious talks with Jim Harbaugh and the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, I have been saying all along, Michigan's not going to go down without a fight. I do not believe that the Michigan Boosters are going to go down without a fight and just let the best coach that Michigan has had in 30 years. No offense, Lloyd Carr, but 30 years, right? Since the 90s. Jim Harbaugh is the best coach that Michigan has had. They're just going to let him go? And so now the latest rumor around the Chargers is if, in fact, Jim Harbaugh maybe goes back to Michigan, or maybe Jim Harbaugh maybe pulls a do-si-do and goes somewhere else, like Seattle, still open, still a thing. That would be, by the way, most people in the Pacific Northwest are very aware of the continued rivalry between Pete Carroll and Jim Harbaugh. Do not believe they like each other. Goes all the way back to USC Stanford. It was obviously elevated with 49ers and Seahawks. And Jim Harbaugh's, I think, just a weirdo enough to like, hey, maybe I'll take a look up at Seattle, see what's going on up there, take over for Pete Carroll as a troll move. Maybe Jim Harbaugh pulls a do-si-do, but it sounds like maybe the Chargers, Brendan, have Pete Carroll dialed in as a backup. Now, we've also been hearing with the Seattle Seahawks, as we talked about a lot last segment, Dan Quinn, I think, still leader in the clubhouse for the Seattle Seahawks. He knows the organization. Everybody in the front office knows Dan Quinn. He built the Legion of Boom, along with John Schneider, who is sticking on as GM. Because that's the unique situation with the Seahawks, right? Is they fired Pete Carroll, but in like the weirdest way possible. You still got a GM. Chargers fired GM and coach. Panthers fired GM and coach. Did the Falcons fire the GM, or do they still have a GM?
No.
If they hire Bill Belichick, they will be firing a GM.
Yeah, I believe.
Or he will become assistant GM.
I believe that, yes, Terry Fontenot is still the GM of the Atlanta Falcons. Yeah.
All right.
So that's interesting, But then again, we've learned this, he could just move from general manager to vice president of football operations and, it's not like, if Bill Belichick wanted to come, I don't think they would say, hey, you're fired. You know what I mean? I think they'd just move him somewhere else.
Yeah. Like I said, he'll be assistant GM.
Learn from the best. Learn from the GOAT himself.
All right, Bill. The GOAT.
Bill can teach him how to draft with his dog. Genius.
The GOAT GM basically going like, hey, you guys got a Tom Brady hanging out around here? Because if you do,
I'm your guy.
I am your guy.
Maybe he thinks Taylor Heineke or Desmond Ridder is that, Justin.
Wouldn't it be crazy? Because, we've already seen a college football coaching carousel where Alabama was an open, Texas A&M earlier, big money out of Texas A&M, but Texas A&M and Alabama, those are two massive jobs. Obviously, Texas A&M not so much anymore, but in the full universe of college football, we have had Alabama and Texas A&M open up right before our eyes. And with the domino effect, Washington was open for about 48 hours. Washington's a premier job. And could you imagine if now by January, Jim Harbaugh goes to the Chargers, Pete Carroll goes to the Seahawks as an offensive coordinator, and now you could have a world where UCLA, Michigan, Alabama, Texas A&M, and Washington all had job openings. How nuts is that? It's
very nuts.
Oh, and Pete Carroll, Bill Belichick, and Nick Saban all out. It looked like retiring all the same day, except for Bill Belichick still talking. Now, another coaching rumor. Let's throw this one out there. Because, Josh Allen was getting a ton of blame. A ton of blame up there in Buffalo. But what about the Buffalo Bills head coach, Sean McDermott? Now, remember, he had a little, let's just say, kerfuffle over a pregame speech. People forgot about that because the Bills started winning, but there was a leaked pregame speech by Sean McDermott that came from the inside that maybe had somebody in the building trying to undermine the head coach. What if Bill Belichick goes to his guy and says, hey, I would much rather take over a team with a quarterback than take over a team with Desmond Ridder at quarterback. Hey, Buffalo, what do you think? What do you think? I know you got Sean right there, but if I were to be interested, would you be interested? Or Buffalo, do you think right now Buffalo Bills ownership is talking to Harbaugh because Harbaugh hasn't taken a job yet. Now, Harbaugh and Buffalo might be a good fit. I don't know. Doesn't seem like a spot he may.
Doesn't seem like a spot for khakis.
Be tough. Be tough for khakis there in December.
Mm-hmm.
But even still.
Eventually they're going to get an indoor stadium, though. I'm pretty sure that's coming down the pike.
No, I don't think it's going to be indoor.
Oh, is it not?
No, they're getting a new stadium, and that was the whole thing is how are you not putting it indoors? And they're like, we live in Buffalo.
Fair enough. Yeah. I think the Vikings figured it out, but neither here nor there.
Vikings figured it out. The Lions figured it out 50 years ago.
He's so right.
But if you're the Buffalo Bills right now, how confident are you in Sean McDermott, knowing that Bill Belichick's out there? Right? No, Bill Belichick's out there. It would be different, right? The whole Cowboys and, Philadelphia and Buffalo, all those three situations. The only reason I believe, other than the Cowboys and Jerry Jones, because he's a very outspoken, the only reason the Cowboys, the Bills, and the Eagles, I don't think they're even in discussions about maybe making a change at head coach is obviously the way that they exited the playoffs, but most importantly, the fact that Bill Belichick's out there. If you're the Buffalo Bills, do you go to and by the way, Brendan and I looked it up. Sean McDermott and Mike McCarthy, fairly close in terms of postseason success and regular season success. And everybody was real fast to kick Mike McCarthy out the door. If you're in Buffalo, do you give Bill Belichick a call? Any interest at all? Just wondering. Some? Like how close? 50? 60%? Like that would be fascinating. Especially if the talks between the Falcons and Belichick start fizzling. Right? Those talks start breaking up. Like they start fizzling.
I just don't think he's going to take the year off. I know that people have thrown out. He wants that record, Justin. He wants to pass Don Shula, man. I really think that is his motivating and driving factor. Beyond that, and then the legacy of proving he's hearing everything. Yeah. Hey, Belichick can't win without Brady. And he's like, let me prove it.
I'm surprised the market for Bill Belichick has not been as hot.
Me too. It was bad with Mac Jones, man. It was bad. And Cam Newton, it was bad.
It was not good.
Bad news bears, man.
And obviously the thing that Bill Belichick has is he has the Belichick way, right? He's the way he runs his I run my unit the way I run my unit. Shout out for you good men. Like that's the way you are going to have to bend the knee. Brendan, Game of Thrones reference.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to have to bend. You bring in Belichick, you bend the knee to Belichick.
I mean, yeah. Yeah.
Right?
He is your king now.
He answers to one person. One person. Whereas
the guy who owns Home Depot.
Potentially,
owned.
Or who's I don't know who the guy, the person, the family that owns Buffalo.
Terry and Kim Pegula. Yes, their family owns the Bills. So, yeah, it'd be interesting. Yeah.
I'm just saying, if you're the Buffalo Bills and you could get Bill Belichick, Buffalo Bills, Bill Belichick, I mean, do you do it? All right. We got a whole third hour of the program. We got Tyson Alger on the big show. We got the RCM mailbag. Jam-packed hour number 3 next, 620 Rip City Radio.
what you need to know. From the Goldberg Jones Sports Desk, your 620 Rip City Radio headlines. Goldberg Jones. Call 1-800-DIVORCE.
It is 8 a.m. on a Wednesday morning. Justin Myers with you. Controversial ending in Oklahoma City saw the Trailblazers lose 111-109. Unable to get a timeout called with the lead. Malcolm Brogdon hit with a double dribble. Chauncey Billups protested, received one technical, continued to protest, received another technical. Anthony Simons had to be held back. Replay shows that it looked like Chauncey Billups was calling a timeout, but also looked like the official did not have his head on a swivel. Blazers have protested the game now. Last time a protest has been upheld in the NBA was 2007. Baseball news, Adrian Beltre, Todd Helton, and Joe Mauer. Congratulations, you're headed to Cooperstown. All three elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame. And the Milwaukee Bucks dismissed Adrian Griffin, head coach, yesterday. Rumors circulating that they are expected to hire former Philadelphia 76er head coach Doc Rivers by the end of the day. Tyson Alger joins us in 20 minutes, but more coaching rumors in hour number 3 on RCM right now, 620 Rip City Radio.
The home of the OSAA is 620 Rip City Radio. It's RCM with Justin Myers, right here on your home of the Portland Trailblazers, 620 Rip City Radio.
All right, ton of stuff to dive into on the big show. We've talked about, obviously, the ending to the Blazer game last night. What a mess. I mean, just what a mess. Want to blame everything on the officials? Can't, because the Blazers put themselves in that situation. This is one of the issues that we have, I believe. Not to get all like, I'm not going to bring out the soapbox. I do have a soapbox. It's actually a very nice footstool, but sometimes it serves as a soapbox here on the big show. Not going to get up on the soapbox, but you know, with instant reaction that we have in our world now, and instant replay, 17 different angles, most things are kind of fixable. Not too many people realize how to take an L every once in a while. You know what I mean? For decades and centuries, teams got screwed by the officials and bad calls, and you just had to sit and eat it. And now it's like, well, you go to replay, and it's like, oh, can we go to replay and fix this? Yeah, timeout's called, not reviewable. Okay, that's interesting. Also, did Brogdon actually call a timeout? Because if you watch the replay, and I've watched it like the Zapruder film, Google it, kids. It was a very important part of the United States history. But I've watched it like the Zapruder film. And Chauncey Billups calling timeout, which he did, very close to when Brogdon took his secondary dribble. And again, this is my question. Malcolm Brogdon, what are you doing? What are you doing taking that dribble? Did he have a brain cramp? Did he think he heard a whistle? Now, I've seen a lot of players react to timeouts, and dribbling a ball and passing it to a teammate is not really one of them. So the Blazers have a little bit of responsibility in all of this. Up one with the ball, 15 seconds. You got to take care of the ball. Can't dribble into a trap. Can't pick up your dribble. You got to understand the situation that once you get it past half court, they're going to foul you. Find it. And if you need to call that timeout, wait until the whistle blows. So that one's on the Blazers. But, like I said, a lot of blame to go around here. Because I perfectly understand why the one official, because Brogdon turned his back to the official, turning my back to YouTube right now, turned his back to the official, may have called timeout, may not have. Didn't signal it with his hands, didn't give the timeout signal. But the official is looking at the double team and probably looking at the sideline, because if Brogdon steps out, that's a turnover. Looking to maybe potentially see a travel, or also looking at the double team that's right in front of him for maybe a potential foul. That's where I think the disconnect got here between the officials and the Blazers. If I had to come up with a reason, and I know no Blazer fans wants to hear a reason, you all just want to hear, the officials screwed them, protested, fix this. It's like, there's no fixing this. There's no fixing it. It was just a mess. If I had to guess, I believe the official, like most of us, except for Malcolm Brogdon, was anticipating Oklahoma. As soon as they get it across half court, Oklahoma City's going to foul. Down one, no shot clock, 15 seconds to go. They got a foul. And I think the official was sitting there waiting for Oklahoma City to foul and then was like, oh, that's a trap. All right, I got to watch. So, for all the people that want, responsibility from the officials, it's like, think about what that official was at. He was in a spot where it's like, all right, they're going to foul once okay, he's in the front court. Now he's trapped in the corner. Now I've got potential traveling, potential foul, potential stepping out of bounds because he's right there on the sideline. I'm right in front of Oklahoma City's bench. Now, I don't know if they do like we used to do in middle school. Brendan, did you ever play middle school basketball and your coach was like, as soon as they pick up that dribble, you get in their face and you start yelling, dead, 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 dead.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. Now,
this was rec basketball in Sherwood knew how to do this.
Now, I don't know if Oklahoma City was on the bench yelling that, but I got to imagine they were saying something.
That's what I'd like to know is where were the Blazers? Because, again, I'm just curious. Where were the Blazer teammates going, foul, like Russell Wilson's runner pass?
Yes.
That's
maybe
what
that was.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. You know what I mean?
This one's on the bench.
Right. I guess it was loud. Maybe it was loud in OKC. They couldn't hear nothing, Justin. They do call it the peak.
And the other thing, Brogdon, by dribbling the second time, made it way too easy on that official, right? Brogdon's got to keep the ball, hold it, call a timeout. Because if they go for the jump ball, right, how many times do you see that where it looks like it's a jump ball, but the officials usually give benefit of the doubt if team with the ball has a timeout? But the problem is Brogdon didn't do that. He dribbled the ball. Now, like I said, there's a lot of blame to go around here. This is not just 100% on Malcolm Brogdon, but he bears some responsibility. The technical fouls, come on, guys. We got to know where we're at. We got to know where we're at. Now, letter of the law, spirit of the law. That's what we're talking about here. Letter of the rule, spirit of the rule. Letter of the law, yeah, did Chauncey Billups make contact with an official? Can't do that. But didn't look like he was shoving or nudging or bumping out of anger or malice. It looked like it was a shoulder tap of, hey, no. I was trying to call a timeout. Official, boom, technical foul. That's when the problem started. Well, the problem started before that. Now, again, I know it's real easy for the Twitter folks to be like, Chauncey Billups has got to understand, where he's at, and after that first tech, he's got to go back to the bench. No. It's a melee at that particular point. It's a melee. It's chaos. And so Chauncey Billups continued to walk out on the court, and that's when second official came in, boom, and ejects him. 2 free throws. They've already lost the possession. You can't review the timeout thing. Jalen Williams hits a game winner. Ball up to DeAndre Ayton, falls short. What a mess. Protest, though. Maybe we'll replay it. Probably not. That's a fun thing we learned today. You know what? Always try to learn something new every day. Didn't realize. History of the NBA. History. Only 6 times has a protest actually been upheld. And really, the last time a game was protested was 3 years ago with the Dallas Mavericks. That was not upheld. But it's only happened 6 times. Last time successful protest, 2007.
Well, and again, also, Justin, that, if Mark Cuban, and we know Mark Cuban is one of the most active owners, or was, kind of.
He's counting his $1 billion.
Yeah, his new situation is unique. He doesn't own the Mavericks, but he makes all decisions regarding the Mavericks. So tell me how you work out that deal.
And he liquidated his ownership, right?
Yeah.
He did have ownership, but that's not money in the pocket. That's money obviously in equity of it. But now he's got all the money in the pocket, and I still run this thing.
But that's what it's like. Mark Cuban's
and he's not on Shark Tank anymore.
Yeah, this is last season, right?
Yeah, farewell to Cuban.
Yeah, Mark Cuban's a likable guy, right? Hence why he's been on Shark Tank for as long as he is. Remember his reaction when he found out in the middle of the game that the NBA league was being shut down when he was courtside, and back in the COVID times, he's gone viral a few times.
Yeah.
And with that, Justin, if the league office, every situation's different, but he made a really big deal out of it, and nothing happened. The Blazers are making a tiny deal out of it. Nothing's going to happen.
No, nothing's going to happen.
Do you really expect Jody and Bert to go hand in hand to Adam Silver's office and say, we're protesting this? And Adam Silver would go, yeah, how's that sale coming along?
All right, real quick, because I want to get this in before we get to Tyson Algier. Interesting rumors swirling around the coaching world. According to Pro Football Talk, now take that for what you want, but according to Pro Football Talk, it sounds like striking distance could potentially be there for Jim Harbaugh to take the job with the Los Angeles Chargers, but potentially Pete Carroll has been making a push. So, Brendan, I'm going to ask you, because let's just say you're the Chargers and you have a choice. Who'd you rather have, Pete Carroll or Jim Harbaugh? As an NFL head coach, who would you rather have, Pete Carroll or Jim Harbaugh?
Jim Harbaugh. And that's...
I'm curious as to why.
I'm going to be ageist, but age. Like, Pete Carroll's probably... I mean, again, even before this whole thing, divorce happened with the Seahawks, we're all probably like, yeah, he's probably got like 3 to 4 more years max. So, in a pure win-now situation, you could convince me to go with Pete Carroll. But if you're wanting somebody to lead your franchise for the next 6, 7 years... Jim Harbaugh's the guy. I just don't think, because if I'm wrong, Pete Carroll's what, 72?
I don't know. It's interesting. Like,
yeah, 72. So he'll be 73 when the next season starts.
But like, if you look at Pete Carroll in his time, and I hear what you're saying about the age thing.
But he is in great shape. He's like the silver fox, man. I'll say that.
In his time with the Seattle Seahawks, only missed the playoffs four times. Only missed the playoffs 4 times. He is 137-89 and 1. That was the 6-6 tie back in 2016. 139, 89, and 1. 60% winning percentage in the regular season. He's 10-9, has a winning record in the postseason, and clearly has a Super Bowl victory and another Super Bowl appearance. Jim Harbaugh has only coached 4 seasons in the NFL. That's it. That's all. Now, one of those 4 seasons, they played in the Super Bowl. But 13-3, 11-4, 12-4, 8-8. 8-8. They're that in 2014.
Well, that was a bad, unceremonious exit. But again,
yeah,
I believe.
So, by the way, I think Wikipedia's got this wrong.
I believe he was 49.
Wikipedia's missing a year here. What are we doing here, Wikipedia? Yes, you want me to donate money to you, and you're missing one.
Yeah, I believe that. That was his only. He never had a losing record in the NFL. He had one 500 record in the NFL, obviously. Yeah. But again, I go back to, and we were. I was talking about this over the weekend with my brother Justin. Like you have to understand how bad San Francisco was when he got there. Like,
well, it's not like the Seahawks were any good when Pete Carroll got there.
Probably comparable, but at least the Seahawks were in a Super Bowl 4 years prior.
The 49ers had Joe Montana. It was like 20 years prior.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. It seems like it's a foregone. Oh, of course you go get Jim Harbaugh. It's like Jim Harbaugh he's 59, 36 and 1, according to ProFootballHistory.com, because Wikipedia really just screwed me on that. 6 years coaching, 61% winning percentage, 7-4 in the playoffs. The 7-4 in the playoffs really good, but Pete Carroll's at a 60%, almost same regular season winning percentage, except for Pete Carroll with the Seahawks, did it for 14 seasons. Jim Harbaugh did it for 6.
Yeah, either one of those guys in L.A., I feel great for Justin Herbert. I think, both of them are kind of similar style-wise.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd probably still go with old Jim. I think he's going to be a little hungrier.
I love Pete Carroll so
I do,
much.
too.
I love
This is not
Pete
an
Carroll.
anti-Pete. I love Pete.
It feels like, though, like a little bit of ageism, and I hear it. I hear what you're saying.
I mean, Belichick's a year younger, so I would say the same thing. He's kind of
Jim Harbaugh not... He's not like in his 70s.
I guess he's 60.
But he doesn't have a good track record of sticking around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, if he's going to be the next head coach there for the next 5 years,
yeah,
until he gets a better deal and bounces.
It would be interesting. It will be interesting.
All right, coming up next, we're going to talk to Tyson Algier. We have the RCM mailbag as well. Before we do that, I do want to tell you about the good folks at DeBella, right? Because this winter weather has been brutal. We've now gone from ice to just rain, rain, rain. How's your roof? How's your roof holding up after the ice storm? How's your roof holding up now with rain in the forecast for the foreseeable future? If you are a little bit nervous, maybe your roof is leaking, maybe it's just aging, maybe it is time to take care of that and get a free quote from the good people at DeBella. They are the best in the business because 15,000 five-star reviews on Google told me so. That's not me saying they're the best in the business. That's their customers. Over 15,000 five-star reviews on Google. Maybe you can be the next five-star review because DeBella is offering an amazing financing opportunity of zero down and no payments until 2025, right? We're coming off of this ice storm, and if you were a little bit nervous about your roof, but you're like, I just don't have it in the bank account right now, Justin. Well, if you got approved credit, you can get zero down and no payments until 2025. And that entire time, you could be saving up to 30% on your energy bills. All you got to do is visit DeBella, DABELLA.us for a free, no obligation appointment. They can make updating your home so easy. DeBella, the official home improvement partner of the Portland Timbers. All right, very happy to welcome back to the big show in his usual Wednesday time slot, the owner, operator, CEO, head of the party planning committee of the I-5 corridor, Tyson Alger, friend of the program, back on the big show. Tyson, how we doing?
I'm doing good, man. This is some new music for me. I'm all for it.
2024, we're trying to shake some things up, trying to change a little bit of the sound of the show. So yeah, get a little. It's going to be me, a little early 2000s pop in our lives. And, a lot of people want to look down their nose, Tyson. They want to be a little snooty. They want to get on their high horse. But you know what? I was there. All right, I was there in 2000 rocking Abercrombie polos with the popped collar, with hoop earrings and puka shells. And you know what? We were living our best life.
There's just a lot of pressure because I come on here and I feel like every little thing I do, it'll never be enough for you.
I love it. Dynamite drop in. Not the best in the league for nothing, folks. All right, we got a lot of stuff to dive into, a lot of stuff to talk about. I want to start with this because it is fascinating, kind of sad, but the fall of Sports Illustrated in our lives, kind of inevitable because of technology, and we don't really have magazines in our world anymore. I was in a waiting room the other day at the vet, scrolled through TikTok, not proud of it, but we just don't need magazines anymore. But interesting story that you had on kind of the history of Oregon on the cover of Sports Illustrated, in particular the cover in 2001 where Sports Illustrated had Oregon State, projecting the Beavs as the number one team in the country. Didn't work out so well for them, but the odd friendship that grew between Joey Harrington and Ken Simonton.
Yeah, it was just one of those things where, as kind of the news cycle last week was focusing on the demise of Sports Illustrated, and me, like probably any other big sports fan around there, I was one of those kids that knew exactly when it was coming in the mail. Actually, in Alaska, we got it like a day later. So thankfully there was like no internet spoilers at that time, but we would get it on, a little bit extended in the week. And I was kind of trying to figure out a way to put Oregon's history in that into context, because even when I first came to Oregon, like I remember Oregon's Sports Illustrated covers. Like I remember the Anthony Thomas one. I remember the Michael James one. I remember the several times that Marcus Mariota was on there. But yeah, like that Joey Harrington, Ken Simonton one was like one of the most kind of goofily iconic ones, just because it was two players on rival teams separated by like 40 miles, and it was just the goofiest photo shoot. Like they were using swords and like piercing through stuffed animals of the rivals' opponents, or like putting them in blenders and that sort of thing. And Joey just said it was like a really disarming sort of situation, because he showed up there having just been Joey 5 picks, and Ken Simonton was the kind of the guy with the Heisman momentum, and Oregon State was a better team, and then they just had to goof around for a few hours. And Joey said it wasn't one of those things where he was expecting to create a lifelong friendship, but that's kind of the fallout of it. And so when he was thinking about, where Sports Illustrated's going and his kind of memories of it, that's one of the things that Joey said he takes away is like, hey, I ended up getting like a 20-year friendship out of that photo shoot, even though it was at the time, it was kind of like a weird situation when they were setting it up.
It is interesting because I'm looking at it right now, and I very much remember this one. And obviously, as an Oregon fan in my early 20s at the time, the fact that Oregon State got picked number one did not sit well with me or a lot of other Oregon fans. But yeah, you talk about kind of the goofiness of it, and also people forget when you go back, because I'm looking at Joey's uniform, like that's still only like 2 years into the Oregon uniform stuff. It's not like it is now, where it's just to be expected, and that's kind of almost the norm, and everybody's got alternate uniforms. The fact that there's Joey Harrington in a uniform that was designed by Tinker Hatfield to look like a mallard duck that took the college football world by storm in a couple years, right there on Sports Illustrated.
Yeah, and I think, that's kind of part of what you're losing with Sports Illustrated, too. It's just like that time capsule is, you can, as of now, you can still go on SI.com and go into the vault and read that Grant Wall article of all people who wrote that story about Joey and Ken, and kind of be airdropped into 2001. And just the way Sports Illustrated used to write those stories and pen those stories is, there was so much description and detail and reporting that, like, it's kind of like reliving history a little bit. And so it's a shame, but I really did enjoy kind of going back and putting that together just for the fact of, like that was Oregon before people, like it was kind of like, all right, Oregon's doing this thing, but it wasn't established yet. It wasn't this proof of concept. And Joey really, was kind of like the proof of concept there, the quarterback who was kind of leading the charge and showing that this Oregon thing might have some teeth to it if it keeps going down the road.
Tyson Alger from the I-5 corridor joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, you're one of the contributors to the I-5 corridor. Threw out an interesting tidbit. So Shane Hoffman, also contributor to the corridor, threw out this tweet yesterday where he said, hearing that not only is an NFL return likely for former Oregon coach Chip Kelly, but it could take the form of a package deal with Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn. And super producer Brendan brought this to my attention yesterday about there's rumors circulating around Chip Kelly going back as a coordinator, and I was like, that seems weird. And then Shane Hoffman tweets that up. This is fascinating, Tyson, that a sitting head coach of a Power 5 school, Power 4 now, going into the Big Ten in Los Angeles in a recruiting hotbed is potentially looking to not take a lateral move, but to almost take a step down to a coordinator position in the NFL. How the heck is this going on?
Yeah, that's one of those ones where you might have to have Shane on a little bit to kind of dive into the details of that one. But it is an interesting concept, just because it does feel like every year that Chip's been at UCLA, there's been some sort of off season like. He's not happy. He might go. He still doesn't like recruiting. He might go here. It was just a couple of years ago that it was kind of rumored around that he might be coming back to Oregon before they landed on Lanning. So it's not exactly a foreign topic that Chip might not be happy there. But then when you kind of look at what's happened this offseason, where he's lost several members of his coaching staff, they're still not recruiting all that well. He's been pretty vocal about how he's not been a fan of what's happening in college football. It seems like every month or two you kind of get like the Chip Kelly soundbite on how to fix college football. So I don't know. I can't pretend like I'm in Chip's camp there and know what his NFL prospects are. But I will say that I think at this point, especially kind of knowing what we knew about Chip during his time at Oregon and how, kind of the not actual football things were not the things that he liked about football, college football. Like, it wouldn't be surprising to me if this was kind of like when he decided to, change course, because, taking UCLA into the Big Ten and I feel like with where their program's been, like, it's almost like you have to jumpstart it again, because it's not like they're the Pac-12 team that's coming into the Big Ten with all this momentum. Like, they're really going to have to kind of fight and grind for whatever kind of scraps they get in that conference. And I don't know. Maybe Chip's not up for that.
Well, here's what's fascinating: the kind of not the juxtaposition. I'm probably using that, but how it is kind of flipped a little bit, right? It used to be that the NFL was the business, right? And it was a job and it was a business. And they were playing a game, but this is about business and getting your money. And when coaches grew a little bit tired of the business aspect, where they went to go coach for the love of the sport, Tyson, was then back to college. That's where it used to be more pure, right? Because it's, these are kids playing for scholarships and for the love of the sport, while in the NFL it is now business, where now it is almost kind of flipped. Because like you said, in college now, you got to recruit, you got a transfer portal, you got an NIL, you got to negotiate with NIL, you have to negotiate with boosters, and then maybe ultimately you get to coaching, whereas now in the NFL, you're like, well, these guys are all on contract now. I at least know who I've got for the next 2 or 3 years. It is fascinating that almost now the football is the main aspect of the NFL as opposed to college, when it used to be the opposite.
Yeah, college is a great job if you're a control freak and want to have Like colleges, when you're playing like a video game and you have the settings turned on, like you want to do everything.
Yeah.
Like it's like, do I really want to do the trades? Should the computer do that? Maybe sign free. Like that's what a college coach is. Because not only are you the coach, but you're the general manager. You're basically the PR wing. Like you're the team spokesperson. You have to do like be a mass petition with the NIL stuff. Like there's so much more stuff than what you have to deal with in the NFL. And I think with the NFL for the longest time, it just felt like this grueling job because you have a longer regular season and then you have the draft and then, it's at the time it seemed like it's more cutthroat, but with the extension into the college football off season of just like how important recruiting's been and the fact that you have it in December and February with the signing days and now NIL and the messed up schedule and all that sort of thing. Like, I think NFL sounds pretty nice, man. Like I think if I had my options, I'll probably just go coach the Patriots or something. That'll be where Tyson Alger zooms in from next year.
There it is, Tyson Alger throwing out his candidacy for. The Patriots job's not open anymore. Maybe the Falcons. I don't know. Chargers still open, which we're going to talk about here in a moment. Here's one thing I wanted to get your thoughts on, because we've seen the way Dan Lanning is almost maniacal about the way he is going about building a roster and everything else. But also you take a look at Nick Saban is now retiring, and I think Nick Saban was one of the best at kind of seeing what is coming down the road in college football and kind of getting out ahead of it, and to where now I'm wondering, like, didn't really seem to want the smoke that was coming down the road. And I wonder if there's going to be more coaches, maybe like Chip Kelly, like others, Tyson, who are like, I'm all for recruiting high school kids. Heck, I'll even recruit for transfer portal. But you know what I'm not going to do? Negotiate an extra $100,000 for my backup tight end. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder if, like, because you got to imagine 3-4 kids every single week go into these coaches' office going like, Coach, I need more NIL money, and trying to keep those guys from entering a transfer portal. It's just got to be exhausting even talking about it, let alone living it.
You know how, like, everything, like, it feels like here in 2024, all other applications are getting, like, AI infusion. Like, hey, on our website, you can talk to our chatbot, and they're well-versed and blah, blah, blah. Like, I feel like, colleges need to have an NIL chatbot where it learns, like, what your program limitations are. It learns, like, what you give out, what you don't. And, like, that's just what the coach is. Like, hey, coach, like, I'd love to talk to you. Actually, yeah, just use the app, son. Yeah, because that's like that part has got to be insane. Because I mean, I'm sure there's some players where the coaches are like, all right, we legitimately need to have this NIL discussion with this player because he's worth it, and we need him at this position, and yada yada yada. And then I'm sure like the third and fourth string guys come in, and it's in this weird era too where you kind of have to placate those guys just a tiny bit because like word of mouth is an important thing, and yeah, so like it doesn't surprise me that like there's like an old guard of coaches who for the longest time in their careers, like the worst thing you could ever say about them is like you're paying players, and now like that's just kind of like part of like the game that they have to learn how to do, and so like it doesn't surprise me that like right now we're trending towards a lot of younger coaches like Dan Lanning or Kenny Dillingham or those guys who are kind of like in their prime at like the internet right now.
Well, here's Tyson Alger from the I-5 corridor here on 620 Rip City Radio. Tyson, you your first year was what, 2014 on the official Oregon beat, right? So you missed the Chip Kelly era. I was there for all of it, and obviously we all evolve and grow, and Chip Kelly seems to be a different guy now than he was when he was there in Eugene running the Blur offense. But Tyson, I could only imagine that guy in the press conferences and the interviews that I sat with, dealing with some player's dad's uncle who has like an accounting certification from a junior college who now believes he's an agent working deals like in that. Like I could only imagine that Chip Kelly dealing with like that guy. It makes me laugh inside. Probably a little frustrating for him, but like when I hear rumors of like, is Chip going to go to the NFL? Why would he do that? I think of, because Jimmy's dad's cousin went to like Santa Monica Junior College and got an accounting certificate, and he's now playing agent.
Yeah, I can't see him wanting to deal with that. And, like other things have changed too. Like he's probably like who the heck are these Substacks that are covering up I-54? It's just not the same.
I used to wake up and pick up the paper, and that's how I knew who was on my enemy list. Now I got to log in, and I got to subscribe, and I was like...
Now my enemy list is paywalled.
But, hey, speaking of paywalls, people should be paying, liking, subscribing, getting to the
There you
I-5
go.
corridor. Fantastic stuff on the corridor all the time. This not anything to do with the I-5 corridor, but you threw out a fire tweet yesterday that's near and dear to my heart because we are both baseball fans. Not really the baseball time of the year, a little hot stove stuff, but then the Hall of Fame announcement came out. I got no problem. With the Hall of Fame class of Adrian Beltre. You got Todd Helton, long overdue. Todd Helton, check the numbers, and Joe Mauer. But you threw it out there, Andrew Jones, Hall of Famer. I love you're with me, and you're with my bravos. Tyson is as Team Andrew getting into Cooperstown, which, by the way, I hope it happens. Maybe greatest speech of all time.
What I don't understand is, like, you know, I think maybe Andrew Jones gets like a little bit compared to just because he played in the same era as Griffey, and Griffey had like the crazy home run numbers. But this hurts for me to say Andrew Jones was a better center fielder than Ken Griffey Jr. was, and it's crazy to me too that you can take somebody who might have been the best positional center fielder in baseball history and then be like, oh, well, maybe he just didn't have the bat to, like, support it. It's like, no, Andrew Jones hit, like, 400-plus. Like, this guy was a great power hit, like, an all-time power hitter, especially, like, when he was younger in his prime, and a nail center fielder. Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, let's just be honest. The nerds ruined baseball, Tyson. They did, right? Baseball used to be about, you know, scratching places you didn't scratch in public, you know, spit and chaw and hitting dingers and robbing home runs. And now it's about FIP and adapted defensive
Launching
rule.
goal.
Yeah, like, come on.
I was happy to see Adrian Beltre get in there. I mean, obviously he kind of hit the milestone credentials where it would be blasphemy if you didn't get in there. But I loved watching that guy play third base for the Mariners. I know everyone got upset because he hit 48 home runs for the Dodgers and then signed with the Mariners and all of a sudden couldn't hit anything out of Safeco and then signed with the Red Sox and was a masher again. But watching that guy zip the ball from third base with that little wristy motion, I could have watched that all day. Like, that guy had the best throwing motion from a third baseman I've ever seen. It was very appealing.
That's that marine layer. That just sits above Safeco. Can't get it out.
We're moving the fences in, though, boys.
Well, it's T-Mobile now. I guess T-Mobile now. But yeah, it was the marine layer. They used to just sit right there and just track power. That's all you had. Definitely wasn't anything else going on at that particular time in baseball where players would maybe make decisions after getting lots and lots of money to maybe prolong continuing to get that money. Is certainly mostly a marine layer, and it was definitely nothing else. You know what else? Tyson Alger writes great stories. I-5 Corridor's got great stories. You can follow him on Twitter at Tyson Alger. You need to be subscribing to the I-5 Corridor, and you can hear him, of course, each and every Wednesday on this particular radio show. Tyson, we've got past the ice and the snow. We're dealing with the rain now, which we'll take because you don't have to shovel it. Hopefully you have a fantastic week. We'll look forward to talking to you soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, everyone, I got a story later this week about Mike Bellotti talking about how easy it is to beat Michigan. So,
that's awesome. I'm all in. All in. There we go. Tyson Alger, boys and girls, we have got the RCM mailbag to wrap up the show next, 620 Rip City Radio.
wanted to bring it up to you to open up the mailbag. But
Well, it's tough to realize that, like, the halftime show, like, they are targeting me.
right.
Like, and it's tough because obviously all this, like, from the Dr. Dre, Eminem, Snoop Dogg, Rihanna, Latlas, like, all this stuff is what I was when I was young, single, and broke, was listening to and partying to. Now that I am, and most of my generation no longer broke, that's why Super Bowl is putting these, like, let's put all the about 20 years ago people out there, and then we'll get some people to spend some money on, like, Pepsi or Doritos or whatever. Anyways.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Mailbag.
Yeah, definitely interesting with all that. So curious to see how that all shakes out. But nevertheless, Justin, let's get into a couple mailbag questions here. Let's see. Ooh, okay. Spaghetti or regular pasta, and why?
Okay.
Like you a noodle guy or like a
All right,
spaghetti, like fettuccine / spaghetti or like bow ties?
I've had this discussion with regard to Mexican food and with regard to shapes matter. Like Mexican food, a taco and a burrito are the same thing. It's tortilla, meat, cheese, and vegetables. It's just in a different shape. But it matters. Like, there are times I'm ready for a taco. There are times I'm ready for a burrito. There's times I'm ready for an enchilada. All kind of the same, just in different shapes and sizes. Chips, the same way. Cheetos, right?
Right.
Cheetos are not chips. They're Cheetos. They're a different... They're made up of different things. They're the same stuff, but they're in a different shape.
They're on a different aisle, too. Like, I went shopping yesterday.
Cheetos are next to the chips, right?
Yes. I'm talking about, yes, like when I went to the store yesterday, I'm like, where are the... Like, a Cheez-It is a cracker, not a chip. So it's on the cracker aisle.
Yeah.
Right? So that kind of threw me for a loop yesterday.
But a Cheeto
is a
made
chip.
up of the same stuff as chips, but it's in a different shape.
Yes.
Therefore, I put it in a different category. Just like Maple Bar is not a donut. It's made up of the same thing, but it's a Maple Bar. Donuts are... All right, that's going to do it for the big show today. Thanks to Tyson Alger for the I-5 corridor. Thanks to super producer Brendan. Thanks to all of you. We are back at it tomorrow morning, bright and early here on